Today's episode is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash. You know wintertime is coming, and you know what that means. Salt and brine on the roads. The leaves are going to start falling. You're going to have crap all over your car in no time. There's no better place to get it spick and span than a White Glove Car Wash. Now offering unlimited packages starting as low as $25 a month. You can go and get your car washed as many times as you want, so you can get any level of car enthusiast in your life the best gift that they can ask for. The ability to go daily and get that little perfect car of theirs clean, spick, and span. White Glove Car Wash with locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. You are never too far from the glove. All you have to do is ask your phone, take me to White Glove Car Wash, and your phone is going to direct you to the best car wash in the tri-state area. Let them know that Talkin 215 sent you.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasato.
NFC Championship bound, and all roads to the Super Bowl are going through Philadelphia. We have got almost the entire cast with us. We got Papa Sean, we got Sizzlin', T-Bone, Tommy Steaks, then we got the coach. I know, he is back. He is back. He's coming off of IR, but we activated his practice window just for today's episode. Gentlemen, how the hell are we feeling?
Pretty amped. About as amped as you just sounded right there with that intro. That was a good one. That was a good one, man. I love that. Let it rip.
Got to. I mean, Beyblade, let it rip.
Jake, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season, no, man, I'm pumped. Let's go. NFC Championship weekend. Let's go, baby.
Oh, yeah. We got Joey. If you would have told me, Capusta.
Fellas, we got a championship game against the Commanders, a division rival. Like, let the shit talk commence.
Oh, yeah. And this is pretty much going to be, I mean, we might do a little something. We'll probably put some short form out and all, but this is going to be like the talking about the divisional round and the preview of the championship game. But my good, I mean, from the rip, I was like, if there's any way that we can see the Commanders for so many different reasons, for we get a home game for the NFC Championship game, for all the reasons. But the number one thing is the Commanders are frauds. They really are. Like, I like the Lions. They're a great team. We've said it all year. It was gonna catch up to them. They caught the shit end of the stick. And they have so many third stringers starting on that team, backups that are practice squad guys. Just that defense is just thrown together from literally guys off the street. And unfortunately, it caught up to them. And Jared Goff had a terrible day to have his worst game of the season. And yeah, it stinks, but the Commanders, they suck. And like, I was confident heading into this divisional game. I am beyond confident heading into this championship game. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but how are you boys feeling?
General thoughts. I mean, I respect what Washington has done this year very heavily. I've been impressed with them all year. I think that Jaden Daniels has brought new life and trajectory to an organization that really hasn't had much success, nothing like this. But I do think that the Eagles have an edge in the mental category, experience category. And I know that the NFL world and fans and media love the flashy, throw it around the field, make all these crazy plays kind of quarterbacks now, and Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels. But the real truth of the matter is that the Chiefs and the Eagles are the teams that kind of shut all that crap down, and they just suffocate games and suck the life out of games. And I think the Eagles have the edge in that way. But Jaden Daniels is special, man, and I can't take anything away from the season he's had.
The Eagles lead in the sucking game department, huh?
They suffocate you, man. They do. They strangle the life out of games, and it was a little too close for comfort last week, at the end there. But for the most part, they've really shut down their last two playoff opponents with veteran quarterbacks that can play. And this is a defense, like you were talking about the Lions defense. Not only is it banged up, but they ranked 29th or 30th, I think, in pass defense this season. And The Eagles rank first. So this is a really, really good.
I just think it's going to be poetic that we have drawn nothing but like the super hot and sexy picks to make it deep into the playoffs here, right? As soon as the playoffs started, everybody said, well, you don't want to run into the Packers right now, right? That's kind of the team that's coming on hot. We beat them, right? Next week comes right along. Guess who is the sexy hot pick now to come out of the NFC? It's the Rams. Right? Nobody wants to face the Rams. The Rams offense is really humming on,
10 wins in 11 weeks.
Yeah. Now guess who is the it pick? Guess who's the sexy pick? America loves Jaden Daniels. America is all of a sudden loves the Commanders, right? I just think it's going to be so poetic that everything has to run through the link, and we're going to shut every single one of these Cinderella stories down. We are the best team, and we're going to come out of the NFC because of it.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna give the Commanders their respect, right? Because they won 2 playoff games. I'm gonna, in this regard, Jake. I'll follow up with this. Beating the Lions in Detroit was something that I think everybody, from pundits to analysts and everything, said is going to be hard to do. Right? Yep. We get it. We wanted them outside. We wanted the number 1 seed because we wanted Detroit to come to Philly in the elements. So playing them in Detroit is a different animal. They went in there and beat them. But I'll say this. As an Eagle fan, and I think Tommy mentioned this, earlier in the season, you follow your rivals closely. You watch Cowboys, you watch Giants, you watch Commanders. So it's not just like I'm hearing about the Commanders for the first time or the third time because we played them 2 times. I watch those games because I'm on hate watch each week, right? Eagles win, then it's Giants, Cowboys, Washington. Let's see if you can lose, right? Tell me if I'm wrong in this analysis here, because I've been talking to my brother and we try to be objective about this, but it seems like the Commanders get some fluky fourth quarter, crazy tip catch, interception, fumble, 4th down scramble, 56-yard field goal. The other team drops a wide open pass. The other team has a huge play, but it's an eligible man downfield. I'm telling you right now, in every game, same thing with that Bucks game too. In every game I watch, and I don't want to be a hater here, but I'm going to be one. It's not like Washington's making the plays. It's just that they're capitalizing on the other team's mistakes. And that leads me into what the Eagles have been doing this playoffs, playing boring football and not turning the ball over. This Washington team capitalizes on you making mistakes, and we don't make them. So that's why I'm confident going into this, because whether you believe in luck or not, whether you believe in, things just going a team's way, we can control some of that variable by not turning the ball over, by not, Jake Elliott, if you're listening, missing extra points or field goals, not giving.
He doesn't miss field goals.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right? And I feel like that's how Washington has been scratching and clawing in these games, and it was just a domino effect with Detroit. So we continue to play the same boring, call it what you want, ESPN ball that we're playing. I feel like we smack them.
Yeah. No, we're going to get very heavily into this upcoming matchup. I do want to touch on the Sunday's game that we had won against the Rams and the elements. I know, Tommy, I was there. Stakes was there. Unfortunately, our boy Philly Dogs isn't able to make it on tonight's episode, as he's got another overseas teleconference or something, guys, just the international man of business. But and there's so many positives, so many things I want to dive deep into this next game, but there's still some negatives that I want to talk about of this last game. And sure, it's like, we won. What are you doing? Like, it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, a guy you're going to hear a lot on every Philadelphia talking head, from WIP to anybody on ESPN to any other podcast, Twitter person, anything, is Jalen Hurts. And at the end of the day, the dude wins. I mean, if you're following the Talking 215 Twitter, you saw a lot of negative things in there. You saw a lot of negative things about a lot of guys. Some people wanted to think that I was only saying things about Hurts. If you look at it, there's negative things about many, many, many players, more negative things about other players. But Hurts was in there, and it's just, at the end of the day, he wins. And that's what I finished it off with was, hey, Jalen Hurts is just a winner. But there are still things that leave you just really scratching your head when you've seen him play at such a remarkably high level. And Sean, I know we were talking a little bit off air about this. I want to give you your time to really dive into what you were saying to me there before I go on another tangent and rant with it. But he really, in my opinion, had a very bad game on Sunday.
Well, I think what we chatted with a little bit before the show started was that all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is totally beyond reproach. Like, I don't know if it's just because of every single week we're catching too much flack from these national pundits and we're getting overly emotional. I keep coming back to uh, the Philly fans. We got a saying. It goes, no one likes us and we don't care. The only problem is we haven't been living up to the second half of that. No one likes us and it really bothers us. Okay. Right. We need to understand that some of these national pundits, they're not Eagles fans. Almost none of them are. Right. They're going to be objective. And by objective, I mean, there's going to be times where a lot of the negotiations that go on for these big talking head guys is how many impressions are you getting on social media, right? As long as that comes to the bargaining table and there's money on the line to be had when it comes to how many likes, retweets, how many comments you're getting, they're going to talk about the most vitriolic fan bases that there are, the most controversial opinions that they can muster. And guess what? All you have to say is Jalen Hurts played okay. He could do this better. He could do that better. All you have to do is skirt the line. And it's malicious. It feels malicious. We take it as such a great offense. All of a sudden, all the Eagles fans that have something critical to say about Jalen Hurts, about something that he could be doing wrong, now they're public enemy number one as well, right? Because what I see is Jalen Hurts playing a conservative game. Okay, he played a conservative game, and there were certainly a couple plays in here and there, especially taking some of those sacks that could have been avoided, right? In a game that was so close, as laser close as this one was, it really felt like we were going to be the one team that did something stupid and threw it away, right? You saw two different sacks that he took that took us out of field goal range. Whether or not Jake Elliott would have made those, I don't know. But
he doesn't miss in the postseason. He would have made them.
Miss in the postseason, okay? But it's
23.
Winding. There's squalls on the field, right? Whatever they call them. That is not a given, right? And then we took a safety. A safety? You're kidding me. Between coaching, between execution from the players, that one I thought was a little bit less on Jalen and a little more on offensive line. I didn't hate the call necessarily as much as the rest of Twitter, but bottom line was he took those sacks and he took that safety and he put us oftentimes in positions to where he was not only taking points off the board, but adding for the other team. Right. So, and those are the things that ultimately, like, we keep saying it's going to bite us. We keep saying Jake Elliott missing an extra point is going to bite us in the ass. We literally lost 2 field goal attempts and then a 2-point play in the safety. Like, that's an upwards of 8 points. Like, at the very least, it's 2. It's probably 5. It probably makes 1 out of the 2. It may even been an 8-point swing here, right? So there are things that we need to be critical about here that we should be able to say without them saying that we're some sort of like we're anti Jalen Hurts here. No, he made mistakes, and that's fine. We just need to make sure going into the week that he's being coached out of these things. It's that way we can go to the goddamn Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I've come to realize that exactly what you said. You know, the national pundits aren't on our side, and you know, every fan base is going to be critical of their own quarterback. And I'm sure, you know, there are Rams fans that are critical of some of the stuff Matt Stafford did in that game. I'm sure there's, you know, guys that are critical of how Lamar Jackson played and maybe saying, you know, Mark Andrews dropped it, but you know, AJ dropped one for us that was pretty crucial. So you know, there's going to be people on both sides of it who want to say the drop or they want to say Hurts could have played better, and it's always a little bit of both. So, you know, I'm not too worried about what anybody really national media wise has to say. You know, we all know that this team's potential is through the roof, and you know, it's just going to take everybody. It's going to take a village. We're going to need to all come together, and everyone's got to do their part. So, Hurts can definitely play better, and hopefully, if it's a clear game, no snow, we'll start slinging that rock around and get us to the Super Bowl.
Coach, I want your opinion on something real quick because I know we were both. I mean, Coach, you're a fiery tweeter. I'm a fiery tweeter. We tweet a little bit emotionally when we're live tweeting games and all. Yeah. But we watch that safety, and I don't know about you, but I'd imagine knowing the football nut that you are, that you've watched that safety play a handful of times, probably from some other camera angles and everything, seeing and all. And you had a tweet, I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not even going to paraphrase it, but it was something along the lines that was similar to mine of that we saw Jalen Hurts. Yeah, the offensive line chose week 20 of the NFL season have their worst game of the year, and I had a lot of negative things that I tweeted about them. But that safety, while Sean, you may put it a lot on the offensive line, I put staunchly on Jalen Hurts' shoulders, because there was a read for him that was a hot route to Dallas Goedert that you can see in every different angle. He has got nobody within probably 20 feet of him, and there's nobody within 15 feet of Hurts for a good click. And I don't know, Coach, I want to ask you, because you probably know the play development design a lot more than me. Was it a play of, yeah, you have these more long developing, deeper routes available, but hey, if those are clearly locked down early, we've got Goedert for you to just throw it away to right away, or in his area, so you don't get a intentional grounding. And Hurts, just for whatever reason, chose none of them, allowed the offensive line to, Cam Jurgens clearly missed an assignment halfway through his blocking there, and the guy came through, sacked Hurts, and obviously we saw what the outcome was.
So in regard to this, Jake, I think in this scenario there can be more than one right answer. And what I mean by that is, I agree with you when I say the offensive line did not play its best. You could say some of that was on footing, some of that was on the snow. I mean, you heard all the guys after the game saying it was miserable. Landon said he slipped on every single play. So pass blocking is going to be a lot harder than run blocking in that regard, because pass blocking, you're going backwards, run blocking, you're going forward to a spot. We all know how much difficult one is than the other. But I will say this. I think, and I'll answer your question with Sean's too, is when people judge a quarterback, they're only using one piece of criteria to judge him, and that is throwing the football with your arm. There's a lot more to being a quarterback than throwing the football. I've said a million times on this podcast, the quarterback is the point guard of your team. And guess what? I don't always need my point guard to score 40 points. Sometimes he scores 10 points, but he has 12 assists and 8 rebounds and 6 steals, okay? And he's played a hell of a game. Sometimes that's better than the point guard that scored 50 points, but also shot 27% from the field. You see what I'm saying? So the point guard of the team is Jalen Hurts. Now, I will say this. They always leave out rushing stats, the 70-yard rushing, the touchdowns, all that. That helps, because a lot of times you'll see an unmarked defender looking at Jalen on the read that allows Saquon to hit the hole on the other side. That comes into play. Jalen gets no stat for that, but it helps. I will say this about the safety and about some of the sacks Hurts took. We always had rules. There's different rules for the offense and for the quarterback based on where you are. If you are inside your own 10-yard line, all of my rules and all of my keys change. In other words, Jake, like you said, I may have a post corner with a drag, dig, dagger concept. I need to know in my head there's a possibility that 4 D linemen could just be not blocked. Hike and 4 can be on me if I'm inside of my own 10. So with Goedert being the shortest route, I either need to get ready to throw it at his feet, take a real quick hitch once I take it back, or once I open up, have an escape route, right or left, wherever the max protection is. These same rules apply. We called it the 35-yard line, the 30 to the 35, because that left you about a 50 to 52-yard field goal, right? If you have a really good kicker. Once you're in that range, the other team's 35 and it's third down. So basically on the other side of the 40, those rules change as well. Throwing it at someone's feet here on 3rd and 6 is better than a sack. It's better than holding it onto it too long. It's better than a chance that someone can come free. I'm not blaming Jalen Hurts on the fact that someone came free within 2 seconds. I'm equally blaming him for the fact that his clock in his head wasn't, I'm on my own 10-yard line and I'm already in field goal range. Those rules change when it comes to protection and when it comes to hots. You need to have an escape plan and you need to have a quick route, even if it's to throw somebody's feet. You heard, I can't remember who it was, but I think it was the quarterback for Penn State when he threw that big interception in the game, when he said, I would throw him a dirt ball. I was trying to throw him a dirt ball. That was his way of saying I was pressured. I was just trying to get it near him so that it wasn't grounding, but he sailed it too much and it was intercepted. You need to have those in your head. So I think it's both parts there. The line played bad, but Jalen needs to have a different set of rules, as most quarterbacks do, depending on where you are on the field.
Coach, clip it, Dan, clip it. This guy's back with a vengeance. No, and the reason I'm really harping on it, because I really don't want to be that guy, that podcast that's really pushing this. But the reason I'm talking about it is, we talked with Macy yesterday. He's confident that he probably stretched some ligaments, doesn't believe that there's any kind of significant damage at all. But he said, it's not only is it, a stretch of a ligament that is going to be a little bit sore, but it's also going to be the 21st week of a season. So regardless of whether he was injured or not, everybody's sore, especially the quarterback. And so when you're talking about a guy that does so much with his legs, so much good with his legs, 70 yards rushing, like you said, you have defenders that have to keep an eye on him because he does like to pull it out of his running back's hands. But if you have anything that they can key on even early in the game, because the Eagles are probably going to try and hide it if there is anything at all, and I'm not saying there is, but if he is limited in his mobility, they're going to hide it and practice everything. But if they key on that early, that he's not as mobile as he usually is, then you lose a little bit of that defense respecting his ability to escape the pocket, respecting his ability to pull it from Saquon's hands and do something. And obviously that's going to possibly limit Saquon, although it doesn't seem like anything can really limit this guy right now. But it's something you do have to consider, because you already know the opposing coaches are going to be considering that, and they're going to be kind of keeping that, watching the injury report, watching all the rumors and everything, and it's going to change the way that they attack this offense. And so if that is the case, Jalen Hurts is still probably your best option out there, even if he's hobbled, as opposed to Kenny Littlehands or the Mormon Missile and Tanner McKee. And so I just need to see him have better awareness in these situations. And I feel like that's the one word that I can really harp on, is just situational awareness, with Jalen Hurts in this postseason and various points throughout the season seems to just be lacking. He's made some incredible throws. He's made amazing plays. And look, I'll say it again. I love him. I think he got snubbed to the Pro Bowl. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, but we're a game away from the Super Bowl. So when you see things like that, you're just going to, and you see the potential of him losing a little bit of that mobility, it's something I'm going to be a little bit concerned about. And I think that that's all right. I think he's incredibly talented, and I get it. AJ catches that ball. Lane doesn't false start. You have so many different things that it'd be like, man, who the fuck cares? We put up 40 on these motherfuckers. Like, it doesn't matter in these conditions. We're doing all this. Like, AJ doesn't drop that other pass. There's so many different things that could happen, but at the end of the day, that's football. You know what I mean? You play the hand that you're dealt. You never know what's going to happen. You had the Ravens fans, Mark Andrews dropped that pass, not the 2-point conversion, the one before Lamar fumbled. And like, if he caught that, Lamar never would have fumbled. No, you don't know that. You never know what's going to happen. So what I saw was AJ did drop it. Lane did false start. And Jalen Hurts proceeded to take a lot of bad sacks in situations and took some points off the board. Did he also help them score some points? A lot of points? Of course. But it's something that I want to keep an eye on. It's something that I've seen as a trend enough for me to say, hey, this is concerning to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a mixed bag, right? Because both of those big Saquon plays were audibles to that play, right? Give the guy some credit that doesn't even involve his arm, that involves his head. But on the other end, that Devontae Smith pass attempt where he drew the targeting penalty, that was a hospital ball. We haven't talked about that, and nobody on Twitter's really brought it up.
Dr. Mesa brought up that play specifically, and he was like, I was watching it. If he just didn't trust it, I don't know if he was nervous about turning the ball over, like you talked about. It seemed like he was scared to turn the ball over, but he's like, if he sent it a second earlier, it could have been a touchdown. He had him, and he was just hesitated way too long.
He's got to be a little better with those things, because like you said, the mobility thing, that's a good point. That's a good factor there. Not only is it going to make Washington play him differently in the run game, but they're also, going to contain and do things like that, keep him in the pocket. And, we've seen him play well from the pocket before, but this playoff run, it's been more run game. It's been more of an approach in the passing game that kind of has been a little bit inconsistent in terms of its efficiency, but it's gotten the job done. So it's definitely something to watch for. That's going to be the plan. It's easier said than done, right? You can't stop Saquon Barkley. It's pretty incredible the season he's had, and everyone knows that. They've been saying it all year. Just stop Saquon Barkley and make Jalen Hurts throw from the pocket, and we're in the NFC Championship. So, maybe Jalen's due for a big game, his breakout playoff game here, and we'll have to see. But if he is limited in his mobility, it's going to have to be this week.
Yeah. Coach, I want to bring up a play I kind of picked up on, the play action bootleg that they seemingly ran every single passing play the second half. It was that something that they were doing because it was so difficult for the offensive line to do solid pass protection, and it was seemingly for 90% of the time.
Let me say one more thing about that, and I was going to add.
Yes.
I was at the game. It was brutal outside, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I think I think the passing game concerns are valid because we've seen it throughout the season pop up. But like this game was really tough. Like it was tough. It's tough to give it a full look. So I'm excited for this week because the weather's like
Yeah, right now it's predicted to be the warmest day of the week. Light wind,
30,
no
36 right around kickoff. Zero chance of precipitation.
Good. I
So
want
it's gonna
that.
be
I
just
want that.
football weather.
I really want that because I do want to see Jalen throw the football and be effective in the passing game because what everyone's saying, and not just out of preference, but just because it's going to make our offense dominant. I feel like Washington's defense can be had. So through the air and on the ground.
Yeah, it's even gotten a little bit warmer. High of 45 that day. High of 45, light winds, overcast skies.
That's 40. Oof.
Currently high of 45.
Tom's thinking about his fit right now. Tom's thinking about that fit coming.
I am.
Short sleeves, baby. Are you kidding me?
That AccuWeather update was brought to you by Mitchell and Ness. But Coach, do you think they're running that play action boot a lot because the offensive line was having difficulty and it was a way that he would give Jalen a little bit more space? And I mean, it seemingly, I think they ran it like 10 times. And then finally that one, they obviously caught on to it and he took that sack and all. But is that a play that you're typically seeing as a way to, hey, we're having difficulty with, you hate to say it, but Jared Verse was feasting on that offensive line for most of the day. A lot of their defensive line more, hey, we're having issues with just a normal shotgun snap, getting protection. This way we get him moving around, get him a little bit more space to work. Is that kind of the thought process there? What do you think? Why do you think they ran it 10 to 12 times?
Yeah, I think it's real simple. I think everybody in the world, including the Rams, know firsthand that Saquon is the guy, especially in elements. They're going to do it. Saquon almost broke the damn record against the Rams earlier this year, so that was on their mind. They knew that. And then also, Tom talked about the weather with the footing. Anytime you run play action, you're going to get linebackers, safeties, anybody that's off the ball, keying down. And then once they realize it's play action, they have to now change direction. So I think that was the thought process of Kellen Moore there was, if I can get somebody taking one false step, whether it be a D lineman, a linebacker, somebody in the secondary, a safety, one false step, and my guys know where they're going, that one false step can turn out to be 10 yards of separation. And I think you saw where Dallas Goedert was wide open down the middle of the field.
I was just about to say it worked on that Dallas Goedert play where your guy just flat out fell.
Yeah, I think that's the thought process there where it's give them a look, make them take a false step, and let Mother Nature add its little sauce in there too with it. And Jake, while we're talking about Kellen Moore, I just got to get this off my chest. I haven't been on the pod in a while, and I want to say something because it bothers the hell out of me when I see it on Twitter. I see so many people. Dallas fans said this before Kellen came. Eagles fans are saying it now, where we'll see an all 22, and they'll be like, "It's all curls. It's all curls. Look at this. It's all curls. What do you want the offense to do? It's all curls. It's covered up." I want to explain something to everybody right now. The quote-unquote all curls is not only in all 32 NFL playbooks, it's ran by all 32 NFL teams multiple times a game. It's ran in college multiple times a game, Canadian football. The point of this is reading. If you have two high safeties, those curls are probably going to be quick. The running back's going to shoot out to the flat, and you're reading the corner. If he's in the cover two, running back or curl. If it's man-to-man, your outside guys are probably going to push up, and instead of being a 5-yard curl, they're going to go deep, 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 come back 12 yards. We've seen A.J. Brown and Smitty do that all year, guys, catches. And then guess what? If it's zone, you're not just going to go straight up and turn around like a traditional curl that you see written on Madden. No, you're going to get some inside leverage, see where that linebacker, if he's playing hook to curl, if he's reading the tight end or the flat, and then you're going to sit down. Sometimes, guys, believe it or not, we have Vic Fangio. We know this. The right defense is called. And so it's locked up. And so then you have to improvise. That happens. You throw to your check down. We saw Saquon have like a 4-yard catch on that same exact play. We saw Saquon have a 7-yard catch on that same exact play. We saw Kenny Gainwell get a dump off and turn it into 10 yards on that same exact play. So stop telling me that Kellen Moore is this uncreative guy that just runs curls. The curls are different based on the defensive alignment and assignment. The receivers know this. The backs know this. The quarterback knows this. It's about reading man zone, press 2 high versus 1, tight end release, delayed out the backfield, run the running back. Every team runs it. Stop acting like the Eagles are the only one to do it when it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think when we think about passing games now and then NFL, everyone thinks it's so creative and modernized and all this, but there's just like normal plays that have worked from like day one in football that people don't account for. Like, it's not always you're throwing like some crazy concepts with motion. You're not having Jameson Williams throw a ball downfield, so you're not doing it right. And it's just not like that. It's not realistic.
I'll give you a perfect example. The 4th and 4 late in the game, the slant to A.J. Brown. It was twins to that side, double slant over. And normally if you see an inside guy running the quick slant, the outside corner's off. Jalen read it, boom, inside corner, outside corner off. There it is, because you're waiting for a banjo concept with a combo route there, and AJ just follows and fills that spot. Sometimes it's simple, but you guys got to stop acting like a slant on 4th down, hitches on 3rd. I'm telling you, you guys got to stop with that.
Yeah, I hate when I see that. Someone said, like, someone posted that and said, like, it was like Brian Johnson and doing that. And
I saw that.
And they said, what's the common denominator? And I said, my answer was casual fans. Like, literally what the common denominator, like, it's crazy how much you see. It's like, guys, don't you realize you're saying this about every single coordinator when you don't like them? So what does that mean? Like, it's not the coordinator. It's you just getting sick of them because we're not good and then starting to blame things that aren't real. It's like, it's the weirdest thing. But
and I hate to break it to those same people, but Travis Kelce has damn near made a Hall of Fame career out of all curls and hitches, finding the soft spot in the zone, utilizing leverage on a linebacker, just finding his little niche, his body position, doing that. He's a freak after the catch too, but I'm telling you, Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs run it. The Rams run it. All these teams run it, guys. Trust me.
No, Coach, I thought you made a great point when you were just like, just because, or I don't know if Tom said it or who said it, but it's like, just because Jameson Williams isn't throwing the ball and all, like, you see these plays and you're like, oh, why don't the Eagles run that? And it's like, we're in the NFC Championship game. Who the fuck cares who runs it? Like, oh, they're so creative. Wow, what a cool play. And it's like, sometimes you're like, yeah, that is a really cool play. And it's the one time they ran it all year because you obviously can't do that every single game. But at the end of the day, we win games. And a lot of times we put up a lot of points. So it's like, who the hell cares? Right. We have so many Pro Bowlers at every different position. Let's just continue to win. Sean, I got a trivia question for you here. Coach was talking about, breaking records and how in Saquon and everything, and just how he's just a freak. In the history of the NFL, how many running backs have scored 4 or more 60-plus yard rushing touchdowns against the same team? Not in a single season, in their careers.
In their careers? I'm going to go 3.
You are incorrect. Coach, you have a guess?
I know that Derrick Henry has killed the Jags in the past, so I'll say 1 other than Saquon.
So you're saying 2?
So 2, including Saquon. Yeah.
You are incorrect. Oh. Tom, do you have a guess?
1.
You are correct. There is one player in NFL history to have 4 or more 60-plus rushing touchdowns against the same team in their career. And this boy did it in the same season, in one season.
Insane.
As an Eagle against the Rams. He has 4 60-plus rushing touchdowns. No other running back has done that against the same team in their career.
That's crazy.
Sean, I think you saw the same tweet I did. I posted something. A bitter Giants fan was like, typical Saquon game, 2 50-yard touchdowns and then just a whole bunch of nothing in the middle. Yeah. And I was like, 2 50-yard touchdowns a game? Is that your flex? Oh, all he could do is get 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on 2 carries a game, and then the rest is fluff.
It was also 2 60-plus yard if you want, if you want to really.
Then you don't mind that we have them. Like,
is that a bad thing? Oh, that Randy Moss is such a phony. All he could do is just score 80-yard bombs.
Are you guys familiar? Yeah, are you guys familiar with the quote that all he does is score touchdowns about Chris Carter? Chris Carter, yeah, that's like that. What's that? That's what it reminds me of whenever I see that Giants fan say that. Oh, he doesn't do anything. He pops like 2 runs and it makes his averages all look better. But like we're giving this guy the ball like 26 times, and then we're gonna get two Deshaun Jackson touchdowns out of it. Like that's the last time I can remember this explosive type player that is like a home run hitter. It's crazy.
He had 2,000 rushing yards on the season.
He almost broke the record.
Clearly, there's something.
Classic Saquon season, just 2,000 rushing yards.
A game changer, and then he also is like he can give him the ball 25 times, and he's like gonna move the chain. He gets so many. Like you're not watching the games if you don't realize he gets those 4, 5, 6 yard runs pretty regularly.
How about when he took that nasty hit on his hand and you see him waving to the sideline like Kenny, and Jalen's like, you put your ass right back in the huddle. And then he throws the screen. He gets a huge first down on the 3rd and long, deep in their own territory. And then he's like, Kenny, I need to get off the field. Today's episode is brought to you by Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. The birds are back, and you know what that means. Dr. Mesa joining the pod on a weekly basis, providing the best up-to-the-minute updates on all of our Eagles. Let's hope that we don't have too much to talk to him about with injured birds this season, but he and any of the other wonderful providers at DOS can talk to you about any injury that you or a loved one have been dealing with for far too long. The only fellowship-trained surgery center here in the state of Delaware, why would you trust anyone other than a specialist? Them being specialists means that they are specialized in each and every part of the body. So if you come in looking for a specific doctor for a specific part of the body, they've got you covered. They're going to hold your hand and walk you through every step of the process, and you're going to make sure that you're happy with all of your results. 302-655-9494 is how you get a hold of them on the phone, or head on over to delortho.com to schedule your appointment today. After they provide you with wonderful care, head on over to Google, give them a great review, and let them know that Talkin 215 sent you.
You know, people throw around the term generational all the time, right? Like, I think part of me disliked Saquon because he was a giant, and so I was going to pick apart pieces of his game just because he was a giant. I did that with Zeke. I did that with Des Bryant. You know, I think that's just natural to do, right? But you guys see it because we're all Eagles fans. We watch every game. The runs he makes late in the 4th quarter are runs that a player normally would make if they make them in the 1st quarter. Fresh legs, ready to go. This guy, like Tommy said, is on 25, 26, 27th carry, and he's outrunning the entire professional defense by 40 to 50 yards. Like, this guy gets better.
Or he'll slow down to let Jared Verse just read his nameplate a little bit better.
I keep telling you, it's because he's not getting hit through the first 3 quarters. He's the one doing the hitting. There was a graphic. I don't even think it was this week. I think it was last week, where it was the average distance in his career before contact, and it was at 1 yard with the Giants, and then it was at like 2.9 yards or 1.9 yards. It was literally double the distance, where he's hitting
like 2 to 3 times
and dealing the damage instead of being the one on the defensive. Yep. That's the difference.
We talked about that on this show.
That's what
we talked about that on this show. The DeAndre Swift versus Saquon Barkley. Remember that, the yards
preseason.
Yeah,
Joey had that stat, and I saw it after you said that on here. I saw it so much on Twitter, and
I mean, we break things here,
and it's right, and it's so the podcast of the people. It's so it's so accurate. We're seeing it like visibly, like, oh my gosh, this actually, that theory, that whole statistical, like I'm a big I'm gonna poke holes in your stats if you come just stats, but that one, no holes in that. Like, that was proved out. Like that made all the difference.
So I'm going to ask you guys a question that I asked Twitter, and I believe I asked you guys either preseason or early in the season. Can a player, and I'm not talking about anybody specifically, you're going to think I'm talking about somebody specifically. Can a player be a team's greatest of all time in their position after one season?
You know what's funny, man, is I actually was thinking about this during the game, where I immediately thought, if we win the Super Bowl this year, there can't be any more questions. And we've been spoiled. We've been spoiled throughout our entire lifetimes. We've had, before Saquon, we had Shady for years. Before that, we had Brian Westbrook. We've been totally spoiled with these fantastic running backs. There is no debate if we rattle off these next 2 wins. It doesn't matter if Saquon has 40 yards in both of them. He's number one if we win the Super Bowl.
So but you're saying even if he has a bad game, so wouldn't it be to this point to you're saying that regardless, he would be the greatest Eagles running back of all time?
Super Bowl. If we win the Super Bowl.
But you're saying even if he has a bad game in both the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, then he's that.
We still have 20 games ahead of it. But if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, then he's probably going to have to stretch this out a little bit further, because he doesn't have that on his resume.
Okay, that's fair. Oh, I get what you're saying. That's fair.
I think that you can define greatest and best differently. So best, he's the most talented running back we've ever had. That's just
good point.
There's no question about that, and that doesn't take a whole season or once, the minute he put the jersey on, that's what he became. But greatest, you need to have like a story in the franchise, and the Super Bowl, like Sean said, would
That's a really good point.
Give him that story, So I think that, and to be honest, like Terrell Owens to me is like, is he the best receiver we've ever had? Right. I mean, yeah, talent wise for sure. Is he the greatest? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the guys on the team right now might have a chance to do that if they go out and win a Super Bowl, right? Because
Jahan Dotson's pretty damn good.
Story's a little richer. Talking about AJ Brown, but I know that AJ Brown isn't a first-year guy. I'm just saying the TO being you asked if it was in just one season with the team, can they become that? So best, sure. Greatest, got to have that one season's got to be historic, and I think Saquon's got an argument for it, and the TO had it before. So
I have a buddy who I absolutely hate, who has a quote. It's Berto.
I knew that. Okay.
And he always says, so that he's never wrong, he says, as the facts change, so do my opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about this question, and I'm thinking about something like Shohei Ohtani, like where we would say, no, you can't be the greatest baseball player ever, because we've never seen somebody like Babe Ruth pitch and hit. And then all of a sudden a freak alien like Shohei comes out here and you're like, okay, this might be the greatest baseball player of all time. The facts change, and so now my opinions do. I honestly, I was the biggest man. I grew up watching Deuce Staley, like Westbrook, Shady, like all those guys, man. We've had some dynamic running backs, right? And even when we won the Super Bowl, we had more of a committee. So you couldn't really like fall in love with that one guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how Saquon's not, unless you throw the term longevity into if someone's great or not. But if we're going to sit on this podcast one day and say, okay, each position, give me you get to build the ultimate Eagles roster right now. You get to pick your quarterback, your left tackle, your running back, your defensive end, Reggie White, all that stuff. Who's not picking Saquon as their running back in that scenario? And I think that's how you got to answer it.
And I think it's funny that we're sitting here talking about this, but the guy's going to be on the team next year and the year after that too. And, he's probably got 3 really good years left in him as long as he stays healthy. So
behind our offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
For everybody already making mock drafts, Lane Johnson's not going anywhere.
I'll tell you what, I want to ask you guys your opinion on this, to be honest. I got a little something to bring to the table here, topic. Somebody.
About time you're bringing something to the table.
Right? Come on, man. I'm bringing something. So I'm in one of my group chats on Twitter, and somebody said that Lane's reaction to the Saquon touchdown, he just kind of jogged off the field, like no reaction at all. And they were like, he might hang it up after this year. Like he just wants to win and get out. And I personally don't think so. I think he just is like on to the next play. Like he's that veteran mindset. He has a ring. Like he's not tickled by these big runs and things and everyone going nuts. He's like, all right, we're meat and potatoes kind of guy. So that's my opinion. But what do you guys think? I know Jake, you're already disagreeing with it.
I think he was fucking cold.
Yeah,
he ain't running 70 yards down there.
Right. No, I know. But he no reaction. Like everyone else had their hands. Landon Dickerson was like screaming, arms up, and someone was like, yeah, Landon's got like the life in him. And Lane is like, oh, fuck this. I'm done after this year. But like, I don't think so. I just think he's the veteran. He's over all that BS,
Yeah, I think he was just like, hey, I already know what this guy can do. I've seen it all season long. Like shaking his head like this motherfucker, he just did it again. And he's just like walking off to the sideline like, man, this guy's just going to do it anytime he wants. And just like more of like a sign of respect. Just like, man, I can just walk off field. I'm done here.
But Jake,
like, also, it's more like a personality thing, right? You hit a big home run in baseball. Somebody's pimping the damn bat, and some people just stare at it, and some people just jog to first. That was Lane just jogging to first. This is just what we do, baby. This is just another 2nd and 8, around here.
Yep. Jake, I wanted to go back to something you said. Well, I can get Coach's answer. I wanted to ask you about the draft. You mentioned the mock draft, right? We drafted Cam Jurgens a little early. Why not get Lane's replacement and have him sit a year or two,
Yeah, I guess if they want to talk internally, we drafted Cam because Jason Kelsey had told them, hey, I'm like Lane Johnson's made public statements saying like he's not leaving.
Right.
You know, like everybody, like Jason Kelsey, there was always that, is this the last year? Because he always said, I don't know.
He was really transparent about it. And Lane Johnson's been more, like you said, adamant about continuing to play.
Yeah, Kelsey, there was always like, I don't know. You sent him a keg. They did a video like, all right, I'm going to stay for another year. All right, let's do it one more. Lane's been like, no, I'm going to be back. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And so I'm just like, you know, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if internally he's telling them like, hey, you know, I'm probably thinking about something, then of course and do the same thing. Let him have a say. Let him, Stout and Howie, sit in a room for 2 weeks and say, here's our 20 right tackles that we have on our list. Make an order. And as they go off, we'll say this is the next guy up. And of course, everybody knows how you're building your room. You're not, you know, there's areas where you take best available, and then there's areas where you pick positionally, and you just see how the draft falls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't believe we're talking draft. That's my bad, but yeah. But
I mean, picking 32, you can still get some good tackles.
Yeah, I know. That's true. It's true. Definitely.
So I do want to get into a little bit more. I know we said at the beginning of the episode, I do want to get into a little bit more of the preview of the upcoming match. I know we're getting a little bit long here, but one of the main reasons I'm so confident is like, sure, the Commanders do things well. You're not in the NFC Championship game if you're not doing things well. They're a good to very good team. They're not great. They're not. They do a lot of things good. They do some things very good. But here's why I'm so confident. The things that they do very good, we're better at stopping. Their strengths are our strengths, and our strengths are not their strengths at stopping. The things we do great, they don't do very well stopping. The things they do great, we do very good stopping.
Favorable matchup.
Yeah. And so it's just like, yeah, they're a good to very good team. But if you just look at their run game against ours, you already know we shut down Brian Robinson. We shut down Austin Eckler. Like Terry McLaurin, he had that. Q had a little rookie brain fart. That's like the biggest play Q's given up all season. That ain't happening again. You saw what we did the first time we saw the Commanders. Terry McLaurin was a nothing burger, and that's what it's going to be in the NFC Championship game. And it's going to be they're trying to force him, and we're going to see some turnovers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Sean, you're chomping at the bit. Go.
No, it felt like that Lions game. Just watching them play was like the perfect storm of getting all of the rest of America to think that the Commanders have a really good chance of coming into the Lincoln and coming out with a victory. They were just, it was a high-scoring, high-flying offense against a totally dilapidated Lions secondary, right? And it just felt like every single time there was some big splash play, you're going, okay, credit for them for even calling that aggressive of a play call. That's not going to work here. That's straight up. This team, this Philadelphia defense has been a bunch of ball hawks the last 2 months. Okay. We've had more turnovers or takeaways over the last 6 or 7 games than we did the first 12 games or so. We're on an absolute tear.
And dropped a ton too.
Yeah.
Dropped a ton. Right. I mean, if Slay had better hands, if Q had better hands, like
if Isaiah Rodgers was a little bit stronger.
Isaiah Rodgers knew how to time a jump. We'd be gold. We'd be even better. But like every single time they're making some splash play, I'm going, that shit is not going to work here. Like, and I'm so happy you hit the nail on the head, man. Exactly what they're going to try to do well, we do better, or we stop better. Yeah. Right. So I think it's just a perfect lineup of seeing all these pundits saying, hey, listen, the Commanders are the sexy pick. They're playing hot. They're going to continue to steamroll into the Super Bowl. Not today, motherfuckers.
Coach, I want to ask your thought. He brought up, the dilapidated Lions and all, and this is more of an MLB mindset. Did the bye hurt the Lions? The Braves, fans talk about, they always get that first run bye. This is more tongue in cheek. Yeah. But did it cool them off?
No, I don't think so at all. I think, and I hate to be this guy, injuries definitely caught up to the Lions.
1,000%.
Like that team couldn't stop anybody. Could not stop anybody. And I know they beat the Vikings that last week, the number 1 seed, but you saw kind of Darnold turn into that pumpkin, right? Like just come back down to earth. There was only so many weeks of good football.
It was past midnight, man.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Connell on that team did whatever they could to make him look as good as they did. props to him for that. I think he's a really good coach. But yeah, I think that was it. When you have that many injuries on defense, you have to play mistake-free football, which is what the Eagles do, mistake-free football. And I think the Lions just thought we can continue to operate the same way we have all year, despite the other side of the ball doing that. And it came back to bite them with the sexy, hot team coming in there with nothing to lose, playing balls to the wall. It was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and Jared Goff had his worst game of the year.
Yeah, you can't have your worst game of the year in the playoffs. It's just something that you can't do. And the Commanders are riding high right now, right? They really are. They're on top of the world. They're playing with house money, as people like to say, kind of nothing to lose mentality. But I think if you're the Eagles coming out in Philly, we saw when the Commanders beat us, every single thing needed to go wrong for the Commanders to win that game. I mean, between the Elliott missed field goal, between the Devontae Smith drop, we went up 14.
Jalen Hurts, Kenny Pickett played 95% of the game.
We went up 14-0, and then Jalen Hurts leaves the game. It's just CJ gets kicked out because he said mean things to the other team. Not a penalty on the Commanders for throwing a punch. Just anything that you could think of, and they won that game with like 4 seconds left. All of that. So you just take away any of that stuff, guys. And I think at home, one thing I'll say is do not let this team breathe. I think one thing the Eagles do that pisses me off a lot is they'll have a chance to go up 2 scores, put the team away, get a big stop, and then something happens where they let them in just a little bit, give them a little bit of hope. They have a false start or the holding or the lane false start or the eligible man downfield, something that could put a team away. It just slightly ruins it. So I would say a rookie quarterback, I know he's played over 17 games, so you can't be a rookie anymore, but a rookie quarterback on the road, NFC Championship in Philly, you put these guys on the ropes early, that might be tough to come back from.
And for the most part, the Eagles usually make Jaden Daniels have one of his worst games. I mean, like the offense obviously put up a lot of points, but we've had a lot of takeaways from Jaden Daniels that not other teams do. Like everybody talks about, he has the fewest no punt, no turnover games than every quarterback combined. And like we pick them off routinely. Mm-hmm. We make them make mistakes routinely. Like, again, we match up well with the things they do well. And Dr. Mesa made a point yesterday in a clip that I'm going to probably put out here in a little bit. But he talked about, he's like, look, I understand they practice in D.C. They practice in very similar weather elements to what the Eagles are going to be playing and all. But look at their last 2 games in Tampa and in a dome. He's like, that does play a factor. He's just talking medically speaking. He's like, well, they're going to be practicing in relatively similar elements and all. He's like, these last 2, everybody knows practice ain't game time. Like it's not full hitting. It's not everything. He's like, this game, where even though it's going to be high or low 40s, high 30s, it's something that the Eagles have been playing in for 4, 5, 6 weeks, and the Commanders have not. And that's another little edge.
Yeah. And to be honest, like that's a great point. I was mentioning that as well. Like they haven't experienced that like Northeast playoff environment. Like this is the pinnacle of football games for them. Like this isn't, it's like the Chiefs. It's like going to Arrowhead in the AFC. Like you don't. It's like the rite of passage at this point. Like if you come out of here with a rookie quarterback and you go into Philly and win in the playoffs, then you deserved it, man. Because like or maybe we flubbed it away. Who knows? But like that's incredible. Would be incredible. That would defy a lot of odds. Like everything says like Eagles. Everyone wants to pick Washington because of the heart. Everyone's been talking about that. They're the darling team. They're the Cinderella team. They're the nothing to lose on top of the world team. So it's heart. But in your gut, the Eagles do what they got to do. They win the game. Like they're the better team. They've been the better team. They've been the best team in the NFC all season long, I think. And I think they've been better than the Lions all this time. And that just took till now to realize that for everyone.
I think you're right, Tommy, with the people in their heart want the Washington Commanders to win, right? The Cinderella story. But I always find it funny when people talk like that, whether it be on ESPN, NFL Network, these shows. I got the Commanders as a sexy pick. If you weren't on TV and didn't have those cameras or a microphone in front of you, and someone said, you need to place $1,000 of your hard-earned money on who you think is going to win this game. Yeah. Don't do it for the cameras. Don't do it for the microphone. Don't do it for my gut's telling me. $1,000 of your money right now. Who wins this game?
Get even odds, like 1,000 to win 1,000 or 1,000. Yep, exactly. Just plus 100.
Who are you betting on in that situation? Does your answer now change? Is it no longer the sexy cool pick now that you have to put something on it? So I think that's where I'm at with this is if I'm ever floating between two, like, man, I think we don't have good matchup. I think I'm like, if I had to put money on this game, which I have before, like, there's no way I'm putting money on the other team. There's just no way.
Right.
Not happening. Not happening. Any other thoughts before we wrap it up, gentlemen?
So I got a fun little question for you guys before we go. If, say, you are at one of the lots at the link, right? You got about an hour until kickoff. You're hanging out with a bunch of your boys, and there is a bench press competition in which you need to bench press 135 pounds for reps. Gentlemen, how many repetitions do you think you're getting a 135 in front of a group of rabid Eagles fans?
I'm going to let Coach go first.
How many did Bo Allen do?
57?
I think 35, give or take. If I have liquid courage going and people like, let's go.
You've got people surrounding you, jacked up, screaming.
Yeah,
I think over 30. I think over 30. I'll say like 32.
I went into the EMS station the other day, and they had the bench out with 135 on, and I haven't benched in a long time, but I hopped down and threw them up and down, and was surprised at the first 7. You know, how easy. And I just stopped at 7 because I was just like, I'm not working out right now. I'm in my full uniform, and I'm not trying to be sweaty and disgusting for an 18-hour shift. But if it was continuing at that pace, I think 20 to 25.
I will say caveat, after 20, I'm probably bouncing that thing like a rubber band.
Oh, you're bouncing the whole time. I mean, this is just
no, my first 10 are just like little jackrabbit pumps, just real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't worked out in a long time, but I still feel pretty confident 20 to 25. And maybe with the liquid encouragement and all the people around me, get to that 27 mark.
Tommy, how many you got?
Benching 135.
One plate on each side. 145 on each side.
My over under would be like 0.5, and I'd slam the under. I don't think I'm
Tommy, you could do 135, brother. I promise you.
You think so? I don't know.
Oh
So
yeah.
you haven't been benching, huh?
No, I've been doing the chest press sitting down when I just put the machine.
Well, then you definitely can do 135. Guarantee it.
Well, I've been doing it on like 85.
A different ball game. You have no idea what that translates to as opposed to gravity. You don't know how many cables are intertwined or anything like that. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, like, first off, I think the tailgate's got to do more than 135, but I'm not the one running it, and I love that it's actually just a thing. Because
we've talked about doing that for
more than 135. There might be like a health waiver there when someone.
I do think there is a limit, right, to where all of a sudden, like, half the amount of people can't even do it if you're going up to like 185 or something like that. But I'm thinking, just me personally, going, damn, I'm gonna get tired. Like, I'm gonna run out of breath from doing 135. Like, I'm probably like, they're gonna be getting tired of yelling 38. 39, 40. Like, I'm just gonna like be huffing and puffing.
You're just gonna get bored.
I'm gonna say, bored. I'm gonna go. I think I'd break 40. I think I'd get 41, and then just call it quits.
And for anybody that's doubting that, I'm gonna find an old picture of Sean. That's gonna be the cover photo for this episode.
I got a pic of him that's probably X-rated.
Listen, I got a couple pics that are X-rated, buddy. You want to?
I think you put it on Twitter.
Right in the group
Yeah,
chat.
I remember we saw that on Twitter, and I was like, I did not know this dude was like Zeus, but okay.
I didn't know.
We got that sleeper build.
Now we're talking about we can't do 135. I'm just saying you probably would. If we if you wanted to start hitting some weights, man. Jake lasted
we gotta
2
ask
workouts.
Dr. Mesa if like veins are supposed to grow in that part of the body. Like,
Sean, I missed what you said, and I don't even want to know it. I got the notification this week at the training center that my membership is set to expire.
God, so much for that.
I moved. It's like 30 minutes away now. I'm not driving 30 minutes to go to the gym.
Well, then where do you go?
I don't.
That just reminded me, Tom, you saying you had to eat or something like that. And I was like, dang, he's probably bulking. He's trying to put on some muscle or something like that, man. We got to get you benching 135 for reps, double digits.
I'm not trying to bulk. I'm just in like lazy Eagles playoff modes. And
No, I need that. We got the combine coming up, man. We got to have you repping out 225.
Are we doing a Talkin 215 combine?
All right.
Dude, I'm so serious. I want to do like a build up to it, just making like content ahead of time. It's going to get 4 views and 1 like. I don't give a shit.
Tommy, you'll murder the interview portion.
He'll take the Wonderlic test.
Yeah. I'll do something where you sit me down and like talk to me. I'll do that, but I can't compete. I'm not going to be in any shape to do that. I feel like that game. I mean,
look, get me a Nick Sirianni little tyke basketball hoop, and I'm doing
vertical. We can do a little 3-cone drill. Come on.
I'm not jumping up in the air. That is. Are you kidding me?
Gentlemen, final thought. Tom, final thought.
Me? I got to go first. All right, fine. I'll send us off with a little bit of this. The artist formerly known as, now I'm turning it into a symbol. You know what I mean? That's the Eagles. You guys got to get the clip for that. Get the clip for that. It's Birds this Sunday. I'm going to be there. We're ready to roll.
There we go. Coach, what you got?
Boring football is better than losing football. I'll put it to you like that. By any means necessary, win the game. Jalen don't care about style points. Boys don't care about style points. Win the fucking game. Go Birds.
Sean.
All right. Final thought. This next episode is going to be the Super Bowl preview.
Wow.
Let's go.
Final thought. They're the heart team. Everybody's talking about, it's the fun. They're the heart. We're ripping that motherfucker out of their chest. Go Birds.